you all for coming. We do have a lot of exciting things to talk about today, so we are going to get started. I am going to share my screen here. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to the Smart Money Town Hall. Good morning. It is Tuesday, September 29th, so we are going to talk about the economy over the last month or so. And here's how we're going to get started. Welcome, Ken. We're just getting started. So we are all going to go around the room and introduce ourselves. And then we are going to get on with our economic update. And then we're going to have a few minutes to talk about that. And people can ask questions, say, oh, this is how things are affecting me. Or how do you think things are going to be affecting me? Because that's the point. It doesn't matter all the dry numbers behind all this. None of that matters. What really matters is what really matters is how it affects us and how it affects our family and how we can move forward, right? And then actually what was really interesting is at our last week's town hall, welcome Brittany, at our last month's town hall, a lot of people were saying, I want more information, I want more information. And so this month we're going to end up talking about our Smart Money Minute, which is what I do several times a week, posting on Facebook and LinkedIn and whatnot, just different aspects about finance and money. And today's topic is going to be, how do you want to be taxed? Because that's a little relevant to what we're going to be talking about the economy today. So welcome everyone. Let's get started with our personal introductions. I will stop sharing the screen in a minute so we can see each other. And please tell everyone who you are, what you do, and what industry you're in. There are enough people here. Let's everyone take about a minute to do that. And once you get close to the end of your minute, I'm going to hold up the green card saying you're good, you're good. And once I hold up the yellow card, please wrap up your thoughts so we can move on to the next person. So I am going to stop the screen share and go in order here. Joe, are you ready?
I am.
Please introduce yourself and then Anthony will be next.
Okay. My name is Joe Hanks. I work in software sales. I'm an account manager for a small company, 400 people, who publish a suite of software that makes a suite of software that publishes digital content. Do you need more than that? I'm glad to.
No, let us know what's something you're interested in learning today.
This is coming at a good time. When the pandemic hit, for my own sanity, I kind of checked out a little of politics and the economy. So I feel a little disconnected. So this I hope is a good, safe place to just get caught up and learn a little more. But I thought this would be a good thing to attend because I made the very conscious effort to kind of unplug from the crazy world. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, you bet.
And Anthony, you are next, followed by Beryl.
Hi, I'm Anthony. I work in outsourcing. I try to take the paper. Sorry, I just woke up and made breakfast. I'm still getting into it. Thank you for your patience. I help solar companies with their outsourcing and paperwork. There's quite a bit of paperwork you need to fill out to get solar on your roof. Aside from the construction part, I help companies build an infrastructure and then get that outsourced to a partner I have, and I manage all of that engineering for them. What I'm hoping to get out of today, this is my first one, so I don't really know what to expect. Just learn about money, maybe just learn something new. I guess that's what I'd like to get out of today. So anything, even a random fun fact about Power Rangers or something. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. I think we're all out of Power Ranger facts, but we'll try to do something interesting. Beryl, you're up next, followed by Brittany.
Hi everyone, I'm Beryl. I came from China, so the time when I came to the United States, it's not a really good situation for me. I don't dare to sneeze or cough even a little bit because everybody will be shun off me. I don't want to say I came here for traveling, that my plan was to stay for 3 weeks, but it turns out to be like an 8 month kind of a quarantine time. But I still enjoy during this time. I meet so many lovely people, all of you guys, and I feel like this is a great experience for me. And recently, I'm planning for coming back to China, even though it's super hard. But I mean, I at least make some progress, right? So my job is I am a Mandarin teacher and an English teacher. So I'm teaching the English, the exams, or just trying to improve the English ability to my students all over the world. And welcome any of you guys want to learn any of the Asian cultures with me. And that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Beryl. Brittany, if you can introduce yourself, followed by Joshua.
All right. Hi, my name is Brittany Hurd. I'm the entrepreneur's astrologer. Typically, my clients are purpose-driven businesswomen who are tired and frustrated worrying about the future, especially during these uncertain times. I lead them down the path of immaculate clarity, unlocking their ultimate with success, wealth, and impact. And what I want to learn today, I'm kind of with, I don't know, I liked what Joe said with politics and the financial stuff, maybe a little bit of that. And then I'm kind of with Anthony where I'm not quite sure what I'm in for, but I like to be surprised.
Awesome.
Thank
Well,
you.
regarding politics, we are not going to go into name calling. I mean politics today. So I'm sorry for those of you who are going to be disappointed by that. Joshua, if you could introduce yourself, please, followed by Ken.
Hi, I'm Joshua Timberman. I am married to Melissa, and she is lovely. And
He has
I
to say that.
am, yes, I'm an engineering operations manager for a software company. Our software is used by IT professionals around the world to configure and secure their servers and other devices for network and security compliance. I am not going to say anything about today's presentation because I have spoilers.
Thank you, Joshua. Ken, please introduce yourself. Unmute. Okay, Ken, if you want to introduce yourself later, just chat and put it in the chat and let me know. Kim, if you would like to introduce yourself, followed by Lynn.
Sure. Can you guys hear me? Awesome. All right. Well, yeah, my name's Kim West. I have a company called Navigating the Knot, spelled K-N-O-T, like tying the knot. And I'm a consultant and coach specializing in the marriage and divorce process, which means that I really provide clients nationwide with clarity and guidance on either end of marriage, from educating them on what they need to know before, getting married, to helping those who are approaching, going through, or looking to recover from divorce. I come from a legal background. I got my law degree at the University of Colorado in Boulder. And then I went through a rough divorce myself. So I really started my business a handful of years ago now as an act of turning my pain into my purpose in order to really help others navigate the process and avoid making some of the same mistakes that I did. And in terms of today, I'm just excited to finally get to attend one of these. I met Melissa virtually during the pandemic. We learned that we live like blocks from each other, which is pretty amazing. And so it feels just like it's meant to be. I'm meant to be in your circle, Melissa.
More than happy to have you. Thank you so much, Kim. Lynn, if you would like to introduce yourself, followed by Jeffrey.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lynn Lambrecht, and I come from an aviation background of over 30 years and have taken all the crazy pieces of my life and decided to be on an entrepreneurial path called the Living Planner. I, a little bit like Kim, would like individuals, families, and businesses to be prepared for all the things that we don't want to talk about, and have an understanding from the layperson's perspective how the financial, legal, medical decisions that we make or don't, and actually document or don't, impact our ability to carry on in life and have actual peace and freedom. So I am here today because Melissa is a flippin' rock star and she's an educator, and I love to be able to support and interact with people who are just amazing people. So thank you. I'm glad to be here today.
Thank you, Lynn. Jeffrey, would you like to unmute and introduce yourself? It is not a required part of today's program.
Sure. I'm Jeffrey. I am part of Melissa's Toastmasters Club, and she basically invited me here to see her speak. So I'm just basically showing support, I guess you could say.
Is there anything you want to get out of today? And I do appreciate your support. Thank you.
I did do some investigation on just growing money in general, investing. So that's, if you're talking about that kind of thing, that would be interesting.
Okay. Today's focus is more on an economic update, but also what it means for you and your family and yourself. And so that hopefully will touch on some of the things you're interested in. I'm sorry I did not give you a heads up, Marianne, but if you can introduce yourself, that would be great, followed by Patrick.
Hi, I'm Marianne Watkins, and I am a realty. I like my job or my life is helping people find where they're supposed to be, find different.
I'm sorry, Marianne. Can you maybe get a bit closer to the computer? It's a bit quiet.
Oh,
there we
sorry.
go.
Can you hear me now? You can't see me.
Do you want to start over?
Sure.
Great.
I'm Marianne Watkins. I'm a realtor with South State Ace Realty. And I have the pleasure, I've known Josh for a long time. And then I had the pleasure of meeting Melissa a few years ago and helping them find their beautiful house. I live in Westminster, Colorado, and I'm excited. There's a lot of good energy in this group, so I'm excited about hearing everyone's story. And today, I know what's going on with real estate for sure, but I wanted to see what the economy is doing as a whole right now, especially since it is an election year. Things are going to be pretty crazy. So I look forward to hearing what Melissa has to say.
Awesome. Thank you, Marianne. And Patrick, if you would like to introduce yourself, followed by Rachel.
Thank you, Melissa, and good morning, everyone. My name is Patrick Baker. My business is Prime of Life Tech, and I provide IT education and technical support to small business owners and for older adults. And I can help folks either troubleshoot or learn new things about their computers, mobile devices, and small networks. And today I am here to support Melissa, and also this is my first time, so it's just sort of checking it out and seeing how this goes. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick. Rachel and then Robin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel, and I am a mortgage loan officer for a boutique brokerage firm called Chariot Financial. We're located in Lakewood, Colorado. I am currently in Minnesota, home with my family, but still working as, mortgage loan officer. And I am here to not only support Melissa, but I have kind of been on an educational journey of my own and learning about taxes and how it's not only for super wealthy people who have CPAs and lawyers and all these people that can get them out of paying the government more than what we should. So I want to learn for myself. So I'm really excited to learn and become wealthy through not paying taxes. Thank you.
Excellent. I think you'll get a lot out of the Smart Money Minute later today. So thank you, Rachel. Robin, if you could introduce yourself, please. And then after Robin, we will have Sebastian.
Thank you, Melissa. My name is Robin McIntosh. I am a senior manager of facilities at RTD. As you probably have heard in the paper, RTD is struggling right now, and we are looking at layoffs and all kinds of upheavals. So I'm here to see, like Joe, I have unplugged from the politics and the economy, so I'd like to kind of see where we're all at. And looking forward to hearing Melissa. She is a rock star. I can't disagree with that at all. She comes into our club and she wins every award that we possibly can give. So that's why I'm here.
I only win the award for knowing the coolest people. Sebastian, if you could introduce yourself, followed by Tanika.
Hi, Melissa and everyone else. My name is Sebastian Gast. I am a small business broker. So I actually had a very enjoyable one-on-one with Melissa. So I'm glad to be on one of these calls as my first one of these. I help small business owners with the transition out of their business, with the sale of their business. I'm a business owner myself. I own a boutique fitness studio in Edgewater called Row House. So I eat and breathe. I love small business and entrepreneurship. So that's kind of where I ended up where I am. As far as the talk today, I'm just kind of a finance and economics nerd. I love hearing what's going on from different perspectives, different fields. I think see the economy differently. I certainly have stories on the small businesses that I see. Liquor is booming right now. And anyway, that's for another time, but nice to be here and good to see everyone.
Thank you, Sebastian. Tanika, if you can introduce yourself.
Good morning. I'm Tanika and I own a college planning business. So most people don't know that exists. So what it is I'm basically an independent consultant getting families ready for the college process. So anything from helping them find the best school for them to working on their applications and essays with them, figuring out how to pay for it, basically anything surrounding that process to try to make it a little less stressful and a little more exciting as I think it should be. And going last, I'm basically going to echo what people have said, here to just learn some things, a little tuned out also with everything political going on, but then I tune out of the probably important stuff on accident. And then of course we all know Melissa's awesome. So I'm just here to learn from her.
Awesome. Thank you, Tanika. And there is someone on the call with a cell phone number, 303-299. Ken, is that you? Whoever is on the phone, on the cell phone, please feel free to introduce yourself at this point.
It's not me, so.
Oh, Ken, please. Yeah. We will have you after our cell phone user. So our mobile caller, please introduce yourself. We're not hearing anything yet, although you are unmuted.
You know what? I think that is me because I did have to call in. I do have to call in.
All right, tell us about yourself,
Okay,
Ken.
never mind. I just saw that number 2992719. Well, my name is Ken. I work for RTD and for a couple of years, and I'm one of the risk management specialists at RTD. I handle pretty much insurance-related affairs, litigation, and negotiation for, well, pretty much a lot of stuff. So.
Awesome. Well, welcome. And now that we are all done with our introductions, please everyone feel free to put all of your information in the chat and follow up with each other. The whole point of meeting each other is to meet new people and grow our networks and maybe be introduced to really interesting people who we can refer to, get referrals from, and so on. So please PM each other. Hey, you're so cool. I want to get to know you better. Put all your information in the chat and we will continue with our presentation. Next, we are going to get started on our economic update. So I am going to share my screen again. And thank you so much, everyone, for all your introductions and for your participation. And a brief overview, there are generally 5 economic measures of how the economy is doing. First one is unemployment. That's a really big one. Second is housing and real estate. And of course, Rachel and Marianne know far more about this than I do. And so I do definitely stick to a very basic measure just to see how the economy is doing. There are so many measures of how real estate and housing are doing that you can really get into the weeds on that. The third measure of how the economy is doing is inflation, and we're going to look at a couple of key measures there. And spending is the last one. How much are we producing as a country? And I'm sorry, spending is the next one, and consumer confidence is the last one. So let's take a look at unemployment. The unemployment rate is 8.4%, and that is down from 14.7% in April. The chart on the left shows how the economy has been doing over about the last year or so. And the chart on the right says that, yes, this is bad. Yes, this is really pretty bad, but it's also not something we haven't seen before. There are spikes in unemployment as the economy improves, and it's fairly regular. So now with an unemployment rate of just over 8%, we are down below the worst unemployment rate from the 2008 recession. That's still not good, as you can all imagine. It's not great, but we are steadily improving on that. Next measure is how many jobs we've actually added or lost. So I'm sorry, I did not change that. Yes, the August numbers from July to August, we did gain 1.4 million jobs. So we are gaining jobs back pretty regularly. Over the last 6 months, we are still down 11.5 million from where we were in the spring. And the next measure of employment we're going to look at is how much are people earning? How much are people earning? This is really important because wage growth needs to keep up with inflation, right? Otherwise, your standard of living goes down over time. That's pretty important. The solid blue line is how many hours people are working. And that number actually has gone down a little bit. Hours worked have decreased. And so what does that mean? That means people who are employed part-time are probably working less than they have been. People who are employed full-time, their hours worked don't really change. We have seen an increase, about a 3% increase in how much people are making per hour. Now, on the one hand, that seems really good, right? Raise your hand if that seems good. That seems like a pretty good number, but actually what that 3% reflects is the fact that lower paid workers who work part-time, gig economy, service jobs, lower paid jobs, they're working less. So the average looks like it comes up, but that's just because full-time workers and higher skilled workers make more money anyway. So that 3.3 number, you'll notice the color coding. Green means great, red means really not great, and blue means so-so. So even though we have a 3% increase in hourly earnings, that doesn't actually reflect really good numbers because it really only reflects that the hours worked per person have decreased. So next, going on from employment, we're going to look at housing. And like I said, there are so many different types of numbers you can look at real estate that a very basic number to look at is housing starts. And that is how much new construction was started over the last month. So new residential units that began construction, it's actually about the same as it was it was about the same as it was last month. So August numbers is down 0.9%, but that doesn't get a red caution grade because there's a plus or minus margin of error in that. And so both of these numbers, the 1 month change and the year change from last year to this year, those changes are actually within the margin of error. So we can kind of just say that it's pretty steady. It has pretty much neither increased nor decreased. So the third measure of the economy we look at is inflation. And most people know what inflation is. Over time, prices rise, and an inflation amount between 0 and 2% is ideal. Inflation higher than that, and people start to suffer. Their standard of living goes down as their cost of living goes up. If inflation is too low, if inflation is below 0, then companies start to contract. So inflation is like the weird uncle at Thanksgiving dinner. You know, when he sits there and he's quiet, you know, you're like, oh, great, everything's good. We don't have to worry about this. And it's only when weird uncle starts to act up that things really matter. An inflation rate between 0 and 2% is great, but it doesn't affect the economy much. An inflation rate over 2% or less than 0%, and it really starts messing with the economy. So the consumer price index, that is the amount we pay for goods. So the consumer price index is 0.4%, so that's a pretty good rate. It's between that 0 and 2 mark. On the right, the producer price index is a measure of how much it costs a company to produce the goods that we buy. Those are two different measures, and the producer changes in the producer price index can predict if inflation is going to go up over the next few months. And so that's why we look at the producer price index, even though most people are more familiar with the idea of the consumer price index as a measure of inflation. And the Federal Reserve funds rate should stay fairly low. When the federal funds rate is low, that means that people and businesses can borrow more money, and that helps stimulate spending and improvement in the economy. If that rate stays too low for too long, inflation can rise. I don't think we're looking at that on the horizon, but we don't want it to stay at that very low 0.25% for much longer than a year or so. And it's been about 6 months. If anyone has any questions at any point, please feel free to unmute yourself and pop in. Please put questions in the chat too. I can answer those as I go. So if no one has anything, let's move on to our fourth measure of how the economy is doing, and that's spending. GDP is how much we are producing as a country. And this hasn't changed from last month's town hall. If you guys were at last month's town hall, this is a measure that happens by quarter. And the quarter is going to be over at the end of September. So next month's town hall will have an updated graph. But for now, we can just see that in Q1, that's January, February, March. In Q1, GDP, how much we produce, went down a little because the pandemic started affecting us right in end of February and throughout March. And in Q2, GDP went down quite a bit. So we do have quite a bit of ways to recover from that. The next thing we look at with spending is how much people are actually spending. So retail sales is all of the things that we purchase for our daily lives. As opposed to that, we have durable goods. So durable goods are things like cars, furniture, appliances, things that don't get replaced but every few years. Why do we look at durable goods? Who cares? Why does it matter? Aren't retail sales more important? The durable goods measure actually helps us predict part of consumer confidence. If you're not confident about your future, you're not going to buy a new car. You're not going to buy a new stove. So we do want to look at durable goods. Retail sales were up 0.9% last month, and they were up 0.6% this month. Now, it's up, it's not down, that's good. On the other hand, retail sales usually go up quite a bit in August because of kids going back to school. You're buying school supplies, you're buying clothing, and we actually didn't see a bump in that this year. Economists did not see the bump in that we were usually expecting for the month of August. So that was pretty disappointing. And durable goods sales are up by 0.4%, but I gave that a red. I gave that a caution sign. And why is that? Well, that's because the July numbers were really pretty good. July durable goods sales were up almost 12%. And so for durable goods to be up only 0.4% this month means that the pace of economic recovery is slowing. And so again, when we look at durable goods as both a measure of spending and a measure of consumer confidence, this number does not inspire confidence. So that's the fourth measure of the economy that we look at. And the last measure of the economy is one that I find so interesting, and that is how we look at consumer confidence. So the leading economic index is a score that was introduced just in 2016, and the economy was pretty good by then. But you know what they say, economists have predicted 9 of the last 5 recessions. And so when we look at what economists think, they're always predicting that things are going to get worse, that things are going to get worse. And so economists wanted a measure that introduces a lot of information, very complicated algorithm. And so the leading economic index is now considered to be a pretty comprehensive score of consumer confidence. And the leading economic index went up last month. That's great news. It went up to 106.5. And that's opposed to the actual consumer confidence score, which is where the federal government calls households and asks them how confident they are in a couple of survey questions. So consumer confidence actually went down quite a bit. It was down really low in March and April. It went up through May and June, and then it started to slip again in July, and it slipped again in August. And so that's a little concerning, but if we can think about what's going on in the wider world, and we're not really talking politics here, or at least we're not talking the name-calling part of politics, but we all know that the government stopped its ban on evictions this month, and that has a lot of people concerned, so that impacted our consumer confidence score. The expanded unemployment benefits ran out, and there was nothing else put in place for that, and so that also negatively impacted consumer confidence. So we can kind of see why consumer confidence went down. This isn't a real surprise here. So the next measure is what a lot of people think of when they think of the economy. They think of the stock market. So when we look at stock market performance last month, this was all in green. The stock market had recovered completely from its March and April low. It was the highest it had ever been. It peaked at 3,580 points, and we are looking at the S&P 500 here. So it peaked in August, and that's really great. But as we can see, the lows and the highs have become more volatile, much higher swings between those, and the actual S&P 500, the actual score went down to about 3,300. So again, if we look at that volatility, it will go up and down. But I would say stock market performance has weakened over the last month. Volatility is the enemy of consumer confidence. Even if things are bad, if people know what to expect, they feel fine. They feel better about it than they would if things are doing well, but they're up and down a lot. So volatility is bad for the economy. So now we've looked at our 5 measures of the economy, and we look at what does it all mean? Let's look at it all on one board again. So employment. Unemployment rate and jobs added, we are still lagging far behind what we were looking at in January and February. Earnings, not bad, but earnings do not inspire a lot of confidence. Housing is holding steady, so I'd give that a solid B. Inflation's doing great. Again, it's the weird uncle. He's not causing any problems at Thanksgiving, so we are going to just let him be. Spending, again, we've got a lot of ground to make up here. Retail sales are, again, steady, not as good as we wanted them to be, considering the usual August-September bump, and durable goods are not doing great, and confidence has slipped over the last month. And so now we summarize even further by giving the economy a grade. And I would give that a solid C+. And when my son gets a C+, he needs to start studying harder. So I would tell everyone involved in the economy that measuring the economy that they need to start studying harder too. But unfortunately, I don't think that's going to do much good in this case. So I thought it would be kind of fun to look at how the economy has been doing and how I think it will do in the future. And so that's why at the bottom, I created a little bit of a prediction. I think if Congress starts putting more stimulus into the economy again, I think we will see an improvement through October and November. And then, of course, we're going to see a big improvement in November and December holiday spending. And that rarely dips. The economy has to be really bad for that to slip. So even though I give the economy a pretty poor grade for this month, I see room for improvement, and I see that things can get a lot better. So this is the end of the economic update, and so now we go into a bit of a discussion on what does it all mean. So if everyone can chime in, what are you looking forward to in the next few months? What do you think is going to happen? How do you think things are affecting you personally and your industry personally? I'd love to hear any comments or questions you have, or even ask if something didn't make sense. So I will kind of call on people popcorn style around the room, unless everyone wants to raise their hand. And to use the raise hand feature, go down to the bottom of your screen, click on participants. And when you click on participants, there will be a button at the bottom right there where you can raise your hand. So please raise your hand, or just to start the conversation, just shout out and say what you think. Where do you think the economy is going?
So Melissa, can you hear me?
Yes, Marianne.
So I think my big concern being in real estate is that, yes, there was forbearance on mortgages. Yes, there's no evictions on rentals right now. But that is going to snowball into, or I feel it's going to snowball into a really big problem because forbearance doesn't mean you don't have to pay your mortgage back. It means that you have to pay that and what's due now. So yeah, so I don't know if maybe you or maybe Rachel could talk a little bit about what they think.
Yeah, the forbearance, Rachel, please chime in as well. But yeah, forbearance is a real problem because we are not solving the problem of housing issues. We are not solving the problem of people not being able to afford things. We are putting it off. And when you put a problem off, it usually grows bigger. So yeah, I completely agree, Marianne. I do not think we are going to fall off a cliff like in 2008, but I do think it will get worse before it gets better. Rachel?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And that's a topic that my boss and I have been talking about. We talk every week, and every time we're like, okay, what are we thinking, you know? And it's just snowballing and getting bigger and bigger of a problem. And people are still, you know, not being able to afford homes. And if they're not having to pay back, at some point, they're going to have to pay back. And then what are they going to do? They're going to have to sell, you know, everything that they own in order to pay back a mortgage. So it's a pretty big problem, and it definitely will get worse before it gets better. So I don't know if that means that the government's going to have to do more stimulus and help out some more, but at some point they got to stop helping, you know?
And that's
So
a really good
can't
point,
always
Rachel.
rely on them. So
Nothing's for free. There's no such
Yeah.
thing as free money. So we're all going to pay for it one way or another.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I think we are pretty lucky in at least our real estate wise in our market. We're very strong. So I think Colorado is actually doing a lot better than a lot of other states as far as unemployment and so forth. Is that right, Melissa?
We are, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that we do have a lot of high skill labor, a lot of tech, and we have relatively little service and low skill labor. I think, Lynn, you wanted to say something, and I think you're a really big part of this conversation about housing, because housing is actually really related to people's health, which is actually really related to the economy. When you lose your home, you lose wealth. People who lose wealth get sicker. They miss more work days. They don't contribute to the economy as much, and it impacts them and even their children down 2 to 3 generations, they're finding. So losing your home actually has really long-term implications. So Lynn, please share.
Well, the interesting part, you guys, my family is all medical, doctors and dentists. I mean, I am kind of like one of those, I'm definitely the aberration. I'm the only person in my family who's ever worked for a company. So, you know, nevertheless running a multinational. So it was really kind of an interesting piece for me to play in. But I will tell you, living in California right now and watching the, you know, just the current environment, our unemployment is incredibly high. We are on fire, as everyone knows. You know, we are amidst a health crisis that our hospitals are attempting to manage surge. We have been in the wonderful place of having people wanting to express their freedom without, you know, really thinking about community. We have a lot of forbearance issues that are coming into play because of the unemployment process. And it's an interesting piece. I know, I agree with you. There is no free lunch per se. And I think what maybe it's living in Asia for so long and traveling to Asia for so long. There's a Japanese term called kitsugi. And you may or may not have ever heard of it, but it is that beautiful Japanese porcelain that breaks. And instead of throwing it out in Japan, they bring it together and they adhere it with gold or silver threaded glue. And they, you know, basically say that things are meant to be broken and they can come back stronger. So being the proverbial optimist in my little world, I see a lot of opportunity for change. I hope that this is a time where education about having that little bit of savings is a really good thing. And having diversity in life is a really good thing. And having a little bit of planning in our muscle memory would be a really good thing. But I can tell you out here, it is frickin' surfs up, baby. Let's go. And I have lived in 17 places in 35 years, and I laugh my butt off because it's like, well, whatever, whatever, whatever. So I hope that maybe this is my, again, optimistic side. We can find a way to understand that we are a part of the whole. And when we can consider the whole, we all get stronger. And I, from a banking and mortgage perspective, God bless you guys, because think of it. Okay, so great. Renters don't have to pay rent. Mortgage holders, you know, are in like a world of doo-doo on that deal, because, you know, they still have bills coming in from a property insurance perspective and, you know, the whole bit. I mean, I've owned and rented out my place. I'm, you know, thankfully an owner now. So you guys, it's just coming together and having civil opportunities to talk would be great. But I do see us falling off a bigger cliff, especially in California. Our independent contractor community is like dead. Yes, tech is here, which is good, but you know, in places like here, this is all about tourism. And when people can't gather in massive groups, it's a big deal. And so, no, we're not going to Stone and having beer, Josh. And, you know, we're not heading out and going to the wineries, and we're not at Disneyland, and we're not in the sporting arenas. And there's a lot of gig economy that's not going to come back for at least another year to year and a half.
Awesome. Thank you, Lynn. I really appreciate that. And you touched on a lot of different parts of the economy. And so that's awesome. Does anyone else have anything about their particular industry or anything that they think is something we haven't touched on yet? Anthony with solar power and renewable energy, Tanika with college planning. I know this is your busy season. Joe, I know what you do is sales, but your company's industry.
Yeah, it's interesting. The pattern you talked about. Our company is definitely facing. I would title my little speech here "Uncertainty." Our company is facing downward pressure on our prices. So as a result, you're not giving people raises, you're furloughing, you're doing all that kind of thing. So, and again, without dragging the politics into it, I think, we can't get through the next, 4 months quick enough. And regardless of who gets elected, knowing what the next path forward is really important right now. So I think that's why we're not investing in people. That's why we're not investing in a lot of new technology. We're absolutely in a wait and see mode to see which way the country swings, not necessarily from a political standpoint, but just from an investing standpoint. So yeah. I'm not a business owner, I'm a cog in the corporate wheel, and I'm kind of glad to be that right now. But we need certainty to understand what direction we're going to take as a business, and whether we're going to belt tighten or start investing. Capital is hard to come by for us right now. So those are all the uncertainties of moving forward. So, yeah. So for me, and it affects me personally too. So, we're in a position where, Gene and I both own, 2 very old cars with lots and lots of miles. I would love to buy a durable good right now, but if I don't have to, I'm probably not going to. So it's that next 4 months that to me can't come soon enough, and that we pick a path forward.
Yeah, and the things Joe was saying are really interesting because it touches on a few different measures of that economy. So one, we might see that hourly earning improvement is going to soften even more, that hourly earnings aren't going to go up as much. And 2, we can see that consumer confidence might go down even a little bit more. Just so you all know, I mean, who thinks this is terrible news? Who thinks this is awful? I mean, it's not great. The economy's not doing great, right? But like Lynn, I'm an eternal optimist because every single economic challenge we have seen thus far, we have gotten through it and things have improved. So keep the faith. Stay optimistic, be wise. It might be wise to start saving. If you're living a little bit beyond your means, now is the time to really think about how to stop doing that. If you need to change habits, there are plenty of people and companies and businesses out there that can do that. If you need to create an account that is very tax advantaged, there are people out there who can do that. Start shoring up, start planning for the future and thinking ahead might be the lesson to learn here. Not get all freaked out and run around like a chicken with your head cut off because things are terrifying. We're really not at that point yet. It's not dire, but now is the time to think, plan ahead, and just create a plan in general.
Yeah, and I would add, for those that have prepared, down economies also present opportunities. That's why there's short sellers in the stock market, because they see a down market as a good time to invest. So, I'm one of the older guys on the call. I've been through a lot of economic cycles. You're absolutely right. This will come back. See where your opportunities are in a down market, and whether that's just the personal opportunity to save and not spend, that's great. If you have a couple bucks, look around. Sometimes a down market presents very good opportunities.
Yeah, and I'm sure Sebastian could have a ton to say about that, but we have about 10 minutes left, so we're going to go into our Smart Money Minute. And so that'll be the cliffhanger that Sebastian is going to talk next month about all of the opportunities. So everyone's got to come back for that, right? So now we are going to go in our Smart Money Minute, because the biggest comment I got after last month's town hall is people want more information and people want to know more, which I think is awesome that everyone's here to learn. And so when we talk about how the economy is doing, the thing that most occurred to me now is, what is our tax situation is going to look like in a few years? And Marianne touched on that. I believe Lynn touched on that. But when we have so much stimulus, and even Rachel, we can say the government should put more stimulus into the economy to keep things going. That's probably the right short-term solution, but let's think about the long-term implications of that. We are still paying for the Iraq War. We had a tax cut in 2017, and now we have the CARES Act. So no one can predict the future. I can tell you that for my husband and myself and our family, I am planning on our tax rate being higher in retirement than it is right now as we both work full-time jobs. That is simply how I am planning my future. Now, there are some important things to know about that, and some important things to know that you can do for yourself about that. So we're going to go to the board here, and we are going to talk about the 3 buckets, or the 3 kinds of money you can look at when you're looking at how things are taxed. So the first bucket is the one we're most familiar with and the one we like the most because we spend our money. This first bucket is our income. And our income is taxed. We earn money and our income is taxed, and then we spend it. We spend it on our house. We spend it on our car. That is the worst car in the history of mankind, but you guys did not come here for my art skills. You came here to laugh, and I'm giving that to all of you right now. So, the income bucket is actually the most fun, because that's where we get to spend the money, right? I like this bucket. The next bucket is because we are responsible adults, right? I'm not looking to see who's raising their hand on who is or is not a responsible adult. I'm making a big assumption here. But the next bucket is when we think about the money we want to save and the money we want to have in the future, we look at our retirement money. And so this is where our 401k lands. This is where our IRA lands. These are generally employer-sponsored retirement accounts. And who here is a small business owner where you are a contractor, a one-man band? Did you know that you can create a retirement account for yourself where you get to save money like this, and you get the tax savings on that? You only have to be a one-man band to do this, and you still can get all of the benefits and rewards of the tax advantage part of this saving. Now, unfortunately, I always have to say tax advantaged in these kinds of accounts for this reason. So when you put money into these accounts, you put money in tax-free, right? You get a tax break on your tax return that year. And that's awesome. It's nice to save that money. And we're not talking a couple bucks. You can save a couple thousand on your taxes. That's really attractive in the moment. But what happens is that money grows over time. And then what happens is you pull that money out in retirement. But remember, Uncle Sam always gets his share. He always gets what he wants. And so when you pull that money out, all of it is taxed, all of it. Now, if you had high taxes, like in the 70s, if you had high taxes and you didn't pay tax on that money then, and now you're retired and you're only paying lower taxes now, that's really good. But like I said, that is not what I am planning on for my future. I see tax rates going up in the next few decades. We can go into politics there, but again, we do want to avoid name calling. So let's not do that. Another part of this bucket is something, I want to make sure it shows up on the board here. Okay, I'll draw it over here and I might have to erase some things. But another thing about this bucket is there's another thing we can look at, which is real estate investments or stock market investments. Okay, and how are those taxed? Well, if you're not putting it into a 401k or IRA, which do invest in the stock market, you can invest, let's say you've hit your limits on these or your employer doesn't offer an account that you like, whatever the reason. Let's say you take your money and you invest it into real estate or the stock market on your own. Well, you are going to put post-tax money into that, right? That's money you pay taxes on, but then you say, I have extra money and I want to save more for my future, so I'm going to take some of that money and invest it. Well, you take your post-tax money and you invest it, and your investment grows. Well, remember, you're not going to pay income tax on that money when you sell, but you are going to pay capital gains taxes on all of that money, including the money you were already taxed on. Okay? So you are going to pay capital gains taxes on that. It probably will be lower than income tax. At today's rates, it's generally lower than income tax, but remember, you will pay taxes on that. And the last bucket we look at when we are talking about tax treatment, we're looking at money that is tax-free in retirement. And tax-free in retirement is awesome, and this is how it works. You put money into those accounts, and that money is taxed. Remember, Uncle Sam always gets his share, but you've given Uncle Sam his share up front. So these accounts are your Roth IRAs and your tax-free index accounts. And your tax-free index accounts is what Five Rings Financial really specializes in, and that's the company I work for. So your tax-free index accounts are great. A lot of people know what a Roth is, but who knows the limitations on a Roth? No matter how much money you make, you can put a max of $6,000 a year. That's about $500 a month. $500 a month is not going to pay for your retirement. I am so sorry about that spoiler. I'm really sorry about that spoiler, but yeah, that's not going to pay for retirement. So the Roth has a lot of limitations and rules to it. Your tax-free index account does not, and so that money can grow tax-free. And when you pull it out, Uncle Sam has decided that you have already paid your fair share, so you can access all of that money tax-free. Each of these buckets has their place. You cannot ignore this bucket because you need a place to live, right? You don't want to ignore this bucket because you can save on your taxes in the year you contribute. And this bucket is really useful in making sure you really have the retirement that you want. So we are coming up on 11. Tanika, did you have a question?
No. I was gonna earlier say something with the college world, but no question.
Oh, I am so sorry. I missed your raised hand. I apologize on that. So you have choices. This is all your choice. It's your money. The government, your mother, your partner, no one is forcing you to go into any of these buckets if you don't want to. So if you want to say, I want more money in this bucket and less money in this bucket, then talk to Lynn, talk to your money person, myself, talk to your realtor, your mortgage broker, figure out how you can move that money around so that you can be taxed the way you want to be. So We are coming up on 11. And if everyone can remember, hopefully everyone's put all of their information in the chat. Carolyn, thank you for joining us. I can get you all the information in the chat so you can meet new people if you like. Does anyone have any questions? Any comments? Anything anyone wants to end up with? Remember, no name calling. Well, thank you all so much. I look forward to seeing you next month. Again, a one shot, one picture of how the economy is doing is great, but it's also good to know how things progress and move forward. So I would love to see you all next month. Well, thank you all so much. Please feel free to unmute, compliment each other's hair.
Thanks, Melissa. That was great.
Thanks, Melissa.
Awesome.
Bye, everyone.
Oh,
Bye, everyone. Have a
Hi,
great
Ken.
day.
Bye.
happy month.
That was great.
You too.
Thank you all.
Awesome.
I will see most of you in the coming month, sometimes in the coming hour, Robin, Beryl.
Yeah.
Jeffrey,
Thank you,
Carolyn.
Melissa.
Thank you so much.